week number 7. The dates are May 18, 2020 to May 22, 2020. We are discussing chapter number 7, and the name of the chapter is Energy. Previous week, in week number 6, we read about introduction of energy, we read about types of energy. You all know what is energy? Energy is the ability to do any work. We can't do any work without any energy. Human beings need food, which provide them energy, while the non-living things need other forms, for example, fuel, for providing them with energy. There are many types of energies, for example, kinetic energy, potential energy. Kinetic is related to motion, potential is related to position, sound energy, then heat energy, which moves from one place to another. And then one of the most common forms of energy is nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is of two types, which includes nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Fission means whenever a bigger atom splits into smaller atom, while fusion is whenever two smaller atoms join up to form a bigger atom. Then we read in detail about interconversion of energy. We came to know that energy can be converted from one form to another. Then we read about energy demands. In energy demands, we read that energy is used in almost every walk of the life, and energy is very much essential for continuing life on Earth. In the present week, we are going to continue the chapter energy. In this week, we are going to study methods of acquiring energy, sources of energy, renewable energy resources, and non-renewable energy resources. The objectives for this week are: students will be able to know various methods of getting energy, distinguishing between renewable and non-renewable sources of energy, explaining different sources of energy, planning ways to model an answer to the question chosen, select and integrate information from various sources, including electronic and print resources, community resources, and personally collected data to answer the questions given, communicate scientific ideas, procedures, results, and conclusions. So let's start the topic, methods of acquiring energy. Industrial, agricultural, and scientific development of a country depends upon higher rate of use of energy in the most economical way. You all know that if we are not going to use energy in an economical way, if we are going to waste the energy, then of course the cost will increase. And when we see this increase of cost according to the industrial scale, then I don't think so any industry could progress. So the progress of a country, or the progress of an industry, or the progress of any home depends on economical usage of energy, so that the cost must be cut upon. The progress and prosperity of a country depends upon exploitation of its energy resources. Energy exists in various forms. The first form of energy is heat energy. Heat is basically a form of energy which can move from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration, or from a hotter object to a cooler one. Most of heat energy we use comes directly from the sun, and you all know that plants prepare their food also by the help of this energy. Heat can be produced by burning of wood, coal, natural gas, or petroleum products. Nowadays, you all know that these sources of energy are called renewable or non-renewable. They are called non-renewable energy resources. And nowadays, there is a need of the day to preserve these non-renewable energy resources. Electricity is also a common form of energy. Almost all the electrical instruments, almost all the devices in your homes, all work on electrical energy. It is produced by generators, as we have seen in our previous lesson, week number 6. We read how generators produce electricity. It is basically produced by generators run by thermal, hydro, or nuclear power plants. Electrical energy is the backbone of industry. Without electrical energy, no industry can work. And we also read in previous week that electrical energy is a cheap form of energy, and it can easily be carried from one place to another. So electrical energy is the backbone of industry, as industries normally utilize the cheapest form of energy. The next form of energy is mechanical energy. Do you remember that mechanical energy is a form of energy that runs industry, transport, and agriculture. Mechanical energy is obtained using fossil fuels in combustion engines. Mechanical energy is also obtained by using electric motors that convert electrical energy into mechanical energy. Please do highlight this point. This is very important point, that mechanical energy is obtained by using electric motors that convert electrical energy into mechanical energy. I hope so you all have seen different forms of motors in your homes. One of the motor is used to take out water from underground, and there are certain other motors, for example the motor which is present in your washing machine, which converts electrical energy into mechanical energy as washing machine moves. And then there are different types of motors that are used in your kitchens, for example in blenders and in food processors. Basically all of these convert electrical energy into mechanical energy. So energy of flowing water and wind is first converted into mechanical energy by turbines or windmills. The mechanical energy of water or wind can also be used directly or converted into electrical energy. There are different sources of energy. The energy we use comes from sun or wind or water. Actually, all of the energy we use today comes either directly or indirectly from the sun. Almost all the life on earth is dependent on sun for its survival. Plants directly, while the animals indirectly. All things that are useful to us are called resources. Please also highlight this point, that all the things that are useful to us are called resources. Air, water, land, soil, forest are all resources. Can you give some uses of air? There are numerous uses of air. We can get different gases from the air, we breathe because of air, and aeroplanes fly in the air. Similarly, when we talk about water, according to commercial point of view, water is used for transporting goods from one part of the world to another, and fishes or other aquatic life also survive in water. Then land resources, there are certain land resources. For example, can you name some land resources? Trees, etc. are also a form of land resources. The resources which are present on land, they are called land resources. Soil and forests, etc. are all resources. Resources are useful raw materials that we get from nature. They are naturally occurring material. It means nature has bestowed these resources on you. They are useful for us in many ways, and we keep developing new ways to use them or convert them into useful things. If we have a look on different resources, we can also see that the different minerals, for example diamond or different metals, they are also forms of resources. Have a look on renewable and non-renewable energy resources. Renewable energy resources are those which are renewed from time to time. For example, solar energy, biomass energy, wind energy, or geothermal energy, or hydropower energy. If you look at all of these forms of energy, you will come to know that these energies are readily available, and these energies will be always available to human beings till the earth survives. And if you look at non-renewable energy resources, we come to know that fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, and nuclear, these are non-renewable energy resources. So non-renewable energy resources are basically the resources which will finish if we will not take care of them, or if we will not use them wisely, then at one point they will finish. So basically renewable energy resources are available easily and they are going to last longer, while non-renewable energy are not going to last. Have a look on classification of resources. Natural resources are valuable to us, of course, because every human being, every nation, every locality, everything, they need some forms of energy, and basically resources provide us different forms of energy. So the broadest classification of resources is done on the basis of their replenishing ability. Renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources are those resources that can be replenished or renewed naturally over time. Sunlight, water, power, wind, etc. are all renewable resources. Renewable resources can be easily renewed by nature. Energy from water. Water is an important natural resource. You all know. All living organisms need water to live. Humans need water for many purposes such as drinking, cleaning, cooking, or for growing crops. Water power is becoming more popular. Dams, as we read in our previous lesson, are being constructed at suitable locations in parts of the world. Dams serves many purposes. They help to control floods by storing water. The stored water in dams is used for irrigation and also to generate electrical energy without creating much environmental problems. If you recall, in our previous week's lesson, we read about the functioning of dams, and there was a big huge structure which is present in dams for producing electricity. Can you name the structure? If you recall, that structure is called turbine. Turbines move and then produce electricity. Energy from the sun. Sun is basically a big source of energy. Sunlight do not pollute the environment in any way. So the energy coming from the sun is used directly or indirectly, and that energy is pollution free. The energy that we get from the sun is basically called solar energy. All the natural phenomena like the flowing of wind, water cycle, photosynthesis are possible only due to solar energy. Nowadays, solar energy is being used to cook food with the help of solar cookers, heat water, light streets, pump water for irrigation fields, etc. The sun's rays are the ultimate source of life on Earth. Can you elaborate this statement? Of course, because the plants prepare their food by the help of this sunlight, and that food is later on used by all the other life on Earth. Other animals either directly eat plants or they eat other animals, and those animals in turn eat plants for their survival. So solar energy reaching Earth is 1,000 times more than the energy consumption of mankind. It means it is much more than normal human usage. Let us discuss solar house heating. Solar house heating is basically a system in which solar energy is used in an innovative way to heat the house. Basically, this solar house heating system is used in cold countries. These cold countries previously used coal or natural gas for heating their homes, but later on they switched on to solar house heating. Can you tell why they switched over to solar house heating? Because we read recently that solar energy is a cheap form of energy and it is also pollution free. The use of solar energy is not new. However, its use in houses and offices as well as commercial industrial purposes is quite recent. Complete solar house heating systems are successfully used in areas with a minimum amount of sunshine in winter, as in the cold countries. So the heating system basically consists of three parts. The first one is collector. What is the meaning of collector? Collector is anything which basically collects any other thing. So if we are discussing about solar house heating, so what is basically a collector in that? A collector is a device which collects what? In this case, of course, it collects sunlight. Then the storage device. Storage device basically stores the energy. And a distribution system. After storage, of course, the energy is distributed. So I am again repeating, the solar house heating consists of three parts. The first one is collector, the second one is storage device, and the third one is distribution system. Solar collector make up of glass panel over blank metal plates, as you have seen in many houses in your neighborhood which have solar panels at the top. And these solar panels, have you noted what's their color? They are basically black in color because black color absorbs sunlight. The plates absorb the sun's energy, which heats a liquid flowing in the pipes at the back of the collector. The hot water can be used for cooking, washing, and heating the building. This is the diagrammatic representation of solar house heating system. You can see solar collector. Solar collector is basically positioned in a way so that it collects the maximum amount of sunlight. then they are stored in the storage system, and then there is a boiler. Can you see a boiler? In boiler, basically the water is boiled. Cold water is fed in, and then it is boiled. It turns into hot water, and then it is transported to all the parts of the house. Solar energy is used in making solar cookers, solar distillation plants, and solar power plants. Let us discuss solar cells. Solar cells are basically components of solar panels. Solar energy can be converted directly into electricity by solar cells. A solar cell is basically made up of silicon wafers. When sunlight falls on a solar cell, it converts the light directly into electrical energy. Solar cells are used in calculators, watches, and toys. Large number of solar cells are wired together to form solar panels. Solar panels provide power to telephone booths, lighthouses, and scientific research centers. Solar panels are also used to power satellites. Here, certain uses or applications of solar cells are given. All of these applications, I hope so, they are present in book and they are quite easy. You can read them yourself. Several other methods to trap sunlight are underway. If scientists could find an efficient and inexpensive method to use solar energy, people will have clean, limitless energy as long as sun continues to shine. The next form of energy which we are going to discuss is wind energy. Wind energy is basically the energy which is obtained from wind. You all know that wind carries energy. I hope so you have observed that whenever there is very fast wind blowing, you have observed that this wind is able to throw stones or shopping bags or even a small pup or a small cat, a small animal. That wind energy can carry that small animal and throw it away. So it means wind carries energy. Wind has been used as a source of energy for centuries. It has powered sailing ships across the oceans. I hope so in movies you all have observed that in olden days the ships were having sails, and that sails were basically meant for utilizing the wind energy. The ship then moved by the help of wind energy, but the ship moved in the direction of blowing wind. It has been used by windmills to grind grains and pump water. More recently, wind power is used to run wind turbines. When many wind machines are grouped together on wind farms, they can generate enough power to operate power plants. In United States, some wind farms generate more than 1300 megawatts of electricity a day. In Europe, many windmills routinely generate 100 or more megawatts of energy a day. Energy from the tides. Tides are the rise and fall in the level of the sea water. Basically, tides are the bigger form of waves. People living in coastal areas are familiar with tides occurring twice during 24 hours. A huge amount of water is pushed towards land with the incoming high tide and set towards sea during low tides. If water is stored in a basin at high tide, then its energy can be used to drive turbine when released. Basically, this high energy carrying tide or wave is used to rotate a turbine. Electricity can be produced from generator coupled with these turbines. Now you know that there are certain barrages which are built by the help of tides. They utilize potential energy because it's the stored form of energy which the tides carry. Tidal barrages are typically dams built across an estuary or a bay, consist of turbines, sluice gate, embankments, and ship locks. Have a look on this diagram. Can you see that they are moving from an area of low tide to an area of high tide? Then they are stored in tidal barrage, and that tidal barrage ultimately runs a turbine, and in this way energy is produced. Geothermal energy. The earth provides us with hot water from geysers and hot springs. There is hot molten part deep in earth called magma. You all know what is magma. Magma is a hot molten part. High temperature of magma turns the water found around the magma into steam. This energy is called geothermal energy. So basically geothermal energy, geo means earth and thermal means heat. So the geothermal energy is the heat energy of the earth. It can be used only at few places where geysers and hot springs occur. Geothermal well can be created by drilling deep into the earth near hot rocks in case pockets of heated water are not available then. The rocks quickly heat the water and turn it into steam that expands and moves up to the surface. The steam can be piped directly into houses and offices for heating purpose. So basically geothermal energy is having, we can say that it is having limited usage because it is not present everywhere, and it is present in limited areas where the magma is present nearby any water reserve. Because of that magma, the water becomes hot, in some cases very hot. So they are called geysers or hot springs, and from these geysers and hot springs the water is taken up and moved to houses and offices for heating purpose. It can be used to generate electricity as well, but its uses is very limited because it is not present everywhere. Such wells can produce steam for 20 to 30 years, making them very cost effective. Here is a diagram. You can see in this diagram there is heat exchanger, there is turbine, there is alternator, then there is transformer. Transformer basically stores, and then you can see that there is production well for steam water extraction. Energy from the biomass. Biomass is basically the mass of living organism. Biomass is a plant or animal material that can be burnt as a fuel. Can you name some biomass which you have observed in your practical life? For example, you can burn, even if you are traveling to some forest, you can burn any tree log, or you can burn the dried leaves. Wood is probably the best known and most widely used form of biomass. Other forms of biomass are garbage, farm waste, sugarcane, and other plants. Have you ever observed sugarcane being burned somewhere? Of course, sugarcane is used for extracting sugar, but the outer casing of sugarcane is a very good form of biomass, and it can burn and it can release energy, which can be used for various purposes. In villages or in other backward areas, basically it is used in small scale industries, or it can be used in homes for cooking. Sugarcane waste and other plant wastes are burned to make electricity. Many industries that use forest products get half of their electricity by burning bark and other wood wastes. Biomass can serve as another source. Problems are there in its use. Have a look on this diagram. There are different biomass sources. For example, the sewage, the municipal solid waste, the animal residue, the industrial residue, the forestry crops and residue, and the agricultural crops and residue. So basically, the biomass sources are all the sources which are present in living organisms, any form of living organism, whether it is a plant or whether it is an animal or even human being. Problems in using biomass. Using biomass products produces pollutants similar to those that fossil fuels produce. So it means they cause pollution. Cutting trees can speed up the erosion of land. You all know what is the harmful effects of cutting trees. Soil erosion increases. Also, wood burning. Power plants would require much land to supply enough wood. Let us discuss another topic, that is biogas. Biogas is a type of fuel which is a mixture of gases such as methane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, etc., which is obtained by decomposition of animal and plant waste like animal dung with the help of microorganisms in the presence of water. So basically, biogas is a type of fuel which is a mixture of gases. And can you recall what are the common gases which we just read? They are methane. Methane is also used in your homes for heating purpose. And other gases are carbon dioxide, hydrogen, etc. In experimental plants, 50 megawatts of electricity per day have been obtained by the help of biogas. Alternative fuels. Some liquid byproducts of living things are promising alternative fuels. These are alcohols which are derived from wood and other plant products. These alcohols are methanol and ethanol. Alcohol has many commercial and medicinal purposes. It can be used for producing energy as well. It can be obtained while making sugar from sugarcane. This is a very cheap source of energy. A mixture of petrol and alcohol is being used as a fuel in automobile. This mixture is called gasohol. Now let us discuss the common uses of alcohol. They are excellent fuels for power plants that produce electricity. The most important use of these alcohol is as fuel for cars, trucks and other vehicles. Both alcohols can be used as a substitute for gasoline or diesel fuel. In addition to utilizing plants from its rainforest, Brazil grows thousands of acres of crops, especially for the production of alcohol fuel. In United States, a mixture of ethanol and gasoline called gasohol can be used in cars and trucks. Now have a look on this diagram. Let us start from the left side. First of all, you can see sun, and that sunlight is used by plants. These plants are used in ethanol plant where ethanol is produced. Then you can see that 85% ethanol fuel is produced, and this ethanol fuel is used in different forms of vehicles. The other form of alternative fuel is hydrogen. Hydrogen is another promising alternative fuel. It is a good source of energy because it does not create pollution and produce maximum energy on burning. Hydrogen is most abundant element in nature. Hydrogen gas makes up 99% of the mass of the universe. Every molecule of water contains two atoms of hydrogen. The hydrogen can be separated from water by electrolysis. Electrolysis is a method by which electricity is passed through any compound and it breaks down into its constituent elements. The hydrogen can be burnt as fuel as well. Now let us discuss some non-renewable energy resources. The other classification of resources is non-renewable. Non-renewable resources are those natural resources that are available in limited quantity. These resources cannot be renewed or replenished in short duration. Therefore, they are also known as exhaustible resources. Examples are coal, natural gas, petroleum, etc. Fossil fuels. Fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas are non-renewable resources. We use fossil fuels to heat our houses and run industry and transport. These wastes include carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, etc., which pollute environment and causes health problems. We are using fossil fuels at very fast rate. Their use is increasing day by day to meet our energy needs. If we continue to use them at present rate, then they will be exhausted soon. Coal. Coal is also known as black diamond. Coal is used as a fuel to generate electricity in factories and in steam engines. Natural gas, you all know that natural gas is used as a fuel called CNG. Some wells dug into the earth produce only natural gas. Natural gases are a good alternate to petrol and diesel. Petroleum. Petroleum is also known as mineral oil or crude oil. This liquid mineral is refined to make fuels such as petrol, diesel, cooking oil, and kerosene, etc. Have a look on nuclear fuels. In the classification of resources, nuclear energy is classified as non-renewable. The fuel used for nuclear energy is generally uranium, which is in limited supply, so we classify it as non-renewable. Production of electricity from nuclear energy does not release carbon dioxide. Thus, use of nuclear energy is safe for the environment. In nuclear power plant, we get energy using uranium. The process taking place in nuclear reactor is known as nuclear fission. Please highlight this point. It is not nuclear fusion. The process that is taking place in nuclear reactor is known as nuclear fission. During fission reaction, the nucleus of an atom splits up into smaller parts, releasing a large amount of energy. Some uranium atoms and atoms of few other materials are used in fission because they split up easily. Have a look on this diagram. You can see an atom of uranium 235. That uranium 235 is going to split into two lighter elements plus two neutrons, plus a huge amount of energy is released. That same reaction is used in atomic bombs too. Common disadvantages of nuclear energy. Nuclear fuel has dangerous waste. No complete safe method has yet far been discovered for their disposal. Nuclear power plants give off a lot of waste heat which can be harmful to the environment. And God forbid, in any case, if there is a disaster, for example, if there is some mishandling in a nuclear power plant, then human beings, plants, animals, all the life which is present in the surrounding is badly hurt. Let's recap what we read in today's lecture. We read about the sources of energy. We read that there are two main types of energy. One is renewable and second one is non-renewable. Renewable energy sources are the sources which will be present on Earth ever, but non-renewable energy sources are those resources which are prone to extinction. Common example of non-renewable are fossil fuels and nuclear fuel. Nuclear fuel is also included in non-renewable because it is usually taken out from uranium, and uranium is present in lesser amount on Earth. While renewable energy sources are energy from water, wind energy, solar energy, geothermal energy, energy from biomass, and energy from tides. Then we learned about alternate fuels. We read about two forms of alternate fuels. One is alcohol and the second one is hydrogen fuel. That is all for this week's lecture. I hope so you understood all the topics very well. Best of luck for your overcoming days. Please do keep in mind that you have to attempt the given assignments on your notebooks. Please maintain your notebooks, prepare neat and clean notebooks, and do try to attempt the questions which are given in your assessments. Do try to solve the worksheet as well. And if you feel any difficulty, you can take the number of your science teacher from your class teacher. So that's all for this week's lesson. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.